Your take on the numbers, because all we've had inbound-wise is companies becoming more contained with their hiring, more focused on just the AI part of the equation, and ultimately letting people go. What do you make of the fact that still we've got such a resilient jobs market, Corey?
Well, today's number was a solid number. It's important to keep in mind that the jobs number in terms of total jobs added has actually been fluctuating on average between 2 and 300 since June 2023. So we're actually seeing a fair amount of steadiness in the labor market in terms of the number of jobs added. When you think about what's happening in the tech sector, we're seeing that the tech sector has also been sort of stabilized since June 2023. Based on our data at LinkedIn, we've seen that the pace of hiring at tech has leveled out. It's still well below what it was before the pandemic, but we are no longer seeing massive drop-offs in terms of hiring in tech.
Corey, let's stick with that. So the pace of hiring in technology has leveled off according to your data. Therefore, it's not a big contributor to that 303 we saw this morning, the sector, I mean.
That's right. 2/3 of that 303 is coming from just three sectors: government, leisure and hospitality, hospitals, and healthcare. That's the case this month. That was the case last month as well.
I'm also interested that in money, wages, earnings, call it what you will. Kara and I pointed out, on estimates, but we're not hearing that, particularly in the context of AI. We heard from Brad Lightcap, the COO of OpenAI, on the show yesterday. There is a talent war, and a net result of talent war is usually you've got to pay more, either in cash or in stock. What's your data telling you?
Well, certainly for AI roles, we're talking about technical AI roles, not just roles that may use AI. For those technical AI roles, there's a shortage of supply of workers. That has been growing. We've seen in LinkedIn data that the number of workers who have those technical AI skills has been rising and rising rapidly, but it hasn't been able to keep up with the demand for these workers. So that's driving wages up, and companies are going to consider other options, right? They're also going to look for other places like Brazil and India. Where can they find these workers with these technical skills in order to build AI tools in-house to foster productivity and innovation, but also manage to keep some control on their costs?
Interesting. We're hearing, of course, that ultimately immigration is helping keep down that wage inflation pressure that's happening here in the United States as well. I wonder how many of those are coming into the tech sector. Is there talent coming in from abroad at the moment, do you think, Corey?
So right now, we're not seeing a ton of talent coming into the tech sector, but we are seeing a recovery from the pandemic. So the pandemic really knocked off a lot of movement within this tech sector, and we're starting to see those numbers come back up. Now, there is a gap that was created by the workers who didn't come in 2020, 2021. And so we're still not there in terms of making up the gap for those workers, but it's starting to come back at a level, at a pace that can help support that sector.
What about diversity? I mean, this is something that we always need to keep a track on, but ultimately the disparity in wages that are going to people of color versus white workers, women versus men, how are the demographics shaking out at the moment?
So one thing we've actually recently seen at LinkedIn, we've done an analysis that says when the labor market slows down, we see less women hired into leadership. And that's not a situation where less women are applying for leadership when the labor market slows down. They're applying more, but they're less likely to make their way into the top levels of leadership. So as the labor market slows down, it's very clear that everyone is disproportionately impacted. For example, the pandemic wiped out about 5 years of gains in the black-white unemployment gap. So as we continue to see some of the air being let out of the labor market, right now it looks stable, but if we do continue to see some air let out, as expected, until we start to see interest rates cut, that is certainly going to disproportionately impact workers.